Coming up on today on Channel 8 News, K-State student body selected a new president, but without much of a choice. We'll have the story. Before Colin Kaepernick knelt in the NFL, there was Mahamadou Roof in the NBA. He came on campus to talk about his resistance. Plus, an old friend to the K-State Athletics Department is heading out of service. We say goodbye to Ahern Fieldhouse.
Right now in Manhattan, it's just below freezing. That northeast wind is going to make it feel like 20, but spring weather is on the way. We'll have that more next on Channel 8 News.
This is KKSU-LD, covering Manhattan, Riley County, and the Flint Hills, broadcasting in high definition from Kansas State University. You're watching Channel 8 News.
Good morning and welcome to Channel 8 News. I'm Brianna Palmer. Coming up, we'll see why St. Patrick's Day celebration is canceled while a fake Patty's Day is not. Plus, K-State tennis has an international feel to it. That and more is coming up. But first, the K-State student body elected a new president and vice president this week, but candidates ran unopposed and turnouts were extremely low. Channel 8's Lando Platter has the story.
With the Student Governing Association general elections all wrapped up, Caleb Strout and Jessica Binkley are the new president and vice president, respectively. The pair ran unopposed, and Strout says that it changed the way they campaigned for this election.
It did definitely change things a lot. You look at campaigns in the past, they have higher voter turnout, they have probably higher team buy-in, I guess.
Voter turnout saw historic lows this year, as around 1,100 students cast their votes for student body president. With around 20,000 students currently enrolled here at Kansas State University, that means that just 5% got a say in who made it into office.
I know it was like an online election, but I didn't really know about dates or really anything about the candidates, so I just found it best to remove myself. Really the only thing I knew about them was chalk on the sidewalks.
With the majority of students not knowing that the election had even happened, student Zoe Horton believes this isn't the student's fault.
I didn't even really know that it was going on until just now, so just the lack of information and not knowing that it was happening.
However, newly elected Strout believes that this is an issue that can be fixed by the students.
I think the biggest thing is it's just got to be a cultural thing. I don't think people, and it's no fault of their own, just don't really know what all student government does for them, and so naturally what they don't know, they just don't care about.
From Manhattan, Lando Platter, Channel 8 News.
Students can learn more about what the student government elections by visiting k-state.edu/SGA. St. Patrick's Day is coming up, which means that Aggieville is getting ready for its own local holiday, Fake Patty's Day, a day when many bars open early and students celebrate all day. With fake patties just around the corner, some Aggieville businesses are preparing for a long day, while others are planning on closing completely. Rockabilly Deli owner Sam Johnson says that they aren't opening at all, while Jeff Zener, co-owner of McCool's, says that they're planning on being very busy.
We try to load up on supplies the best we can, but overall we're just looking for a nice, very similar to a game day. It's just a little bit longer. You know, it starts earlier in the morning, it goes a little later. We started a couple weeks earlier with the scheduling, with making sure we have our supplies.
As for the real St. Patrick's Day holiday, the city of Manhattan usually celebrates with the city-wide race and Aggieville parade. However, just weeks before the parade was scheduled, it was canceled due to the current construction in Aggieville. This is the second time in the last 4 years the parade has been canceled, also being scrubbed in 2020. While some suggest moving the route off of the parade to bypass Aggieville Business District, others like Aggieville Business Association President Disnes Cook says the reason for the parade is not to benefit the Aggieville area, so missing going around it defeats the purpose.
You know, what we're doing is celebrating Aggieville businesses, etc., and that's why we do it. And we've heard that suggestion. Somebody goes, well, you could come out of City Park and go down Points. Well, then that would be a downtown St. Patrick's Day. It's not what we do.
Ahern Fieldhouse has officially hosted its last event. With building full of such history, it will close its doors after 72 years of serving Kansas State's athletics. Channel 8 News reporter Cooper Dieters has more.
Mike Ahern Fieldhouse officially hosted its last event on February 17th with none other than the Steve Miller Invitational. Ahern Fieldhouse has been serving Kansas State athletics for 72 years and has been called home by the volleyball, track, and basketball teams.
You know, I grew up going to games at Ahern and, you know, had friends and buddies that would sit in that student section over there. So, you know, was certainly excited about the opportunity to play there when I went to K-State as a freshman, and had some great memories there. But we also knew it was time. We needed a new building.
In 1988, however, Bramlage Coliseum was constructed, giving the basketball teams a new home.
The same court that Tex Winters was basically creating revolutionary basketball offenses on, then the Volley Cats were able to practice, have many good seasons on that same court. And even during the basketball days, they had the indoor track in there, but it was dirt. It was supposed to be cinder, but it was so dry in there that it all just turned to dirt.
Well, I've told people a lot of times I thought Ahern was the best place to play in the country. I've never been to Cameron Indoor. I think that's probably pretty good as well. But you know, Ahern was the loudest, had the best student section.
While it may be closing down, there will always be plenty who remember Ahern for what it was, the loudest field house of its time. In Manhattan, from Channel 8 News, this is Cooper Dieters.
The Ahern Natatorium will be the first to be torn down this summer in 2024, followed by the gyms. The field house will still stand. This past Monday, Muslim Association and Black Student Union worked together to host retired NBA player Mahab Abdul-Rauf, who came to speak to students about his career and choice to converting to Islam and being one of the first athletes protesting in a public way.
Students and Manhattan locals were able to hear about Mahab Rauf's beginning in the NBA and his journey in converting to Islam.
So as long as I feel that there's oppression, as long as I feel that people are being brutalized and mistreated, I'm going to always have that burden to try to make a difference. And even if it's just speaking.
I would say the main thing that I'm going to take away, and the main thing I really thought about as he was speaking, was his work ethic and his ability to remain true to himself and push through all of his circumstances.
Yeah.
As a college student who's here, again, carrying the weight of my family in order to be successful and use that as motivation, that was a similar message that he carried out.
Yeah.
So really his ability to prosper and thrive through any situation is definitely something that I'm going to take away from him.
Oftentimes in educational institutions, we're not connecting the dots, right? There's this compartmentalization of knowledge, right? You know, you learn this, but not this, right? You learn this, but not this. We don't see how can I take mathematics, right, and apply it to geography? How can I take this and apply it to this so now that there's a whole?
You can also learn from it is, even if something that your heart loves you are doing, but try to get your hands on other things as well, so that if one is broken at a time, you can still get something to hold on. And you also talk about something to be courageous. Whatever you want to be, or if you want to speak up.
For more information about the Muslim Association and Black Student Union meetings and information, it can be found on their socials and K-State Online. In Manhattan, I'm Brianna Palmer, Channel 8 News.
Mahab Abdul-Rauf continues his journey by telling his story and message in his upcoming documentary, Stand, on Showtime. Coming up, Kansas State radio station is the national champion. We will hear from their chief operating officer live up next. Plus, dinosaurs are roaming throughout the Flint Hills Discovery Center. That and more up next on Channel 8 News.
You ready?
If you can keep up.
Are we gonna do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
I got a job interview today.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Come on. Starting.
Yeah, so the first third of the runway.
Deviations left of course approved. Bobcat 1-2, proceed when able.
In a time of evolution, it is our time to elevate and carve our place atop in a new era. An era where championship expectations collide with championship support. We all must come together, fighting, ever fighting for the purple and the white. Times may change, but generation after generation, the support of K-Staters never wavers. K-State fans, are you ready to be a part of powering K-State athletic excellence in a new era?
A brand new exhibit is on display at the Flint Hills Discovery Center, and it's all about dinosaurs. Channel 8 reporter Aaron McGill has more.
A new exhibit roars into the Flint Hills Discovery Center as a new temporary dinosaur fossil exhibit is now on display. The Discovery Center is very passionate about getting visitors of all ages in the doors and hopes this new exhibit will help with that goal.
When the kids come and see the dinosaurs, well, they bring their parents with them. And often they bring their siblings and cousins. And we like to really highlight that intergenerational learning. And we always like to tell all of our guests who come here that this is a family-friendly learning center.
With 6 complete dinosaur skeletons and over a dozen skulls on display, the Discovery Center has been very pleased on how well visitors have liked their exhibit.
Every time we bring in a dinosaur exhibit, we have a very good response, and this has been no exception. And what makes this one a little different is that you can actually see, the bones, and you can touch them, and you can really learn a lot of information about specific dinosaurs.
Normally at dinosaur exhibits, there's do not touch signs everywhere. But here at Dinosaurs Fossils Exposed, there are many ways to be hands-on.
Usually we say, please don't touch our exhibits. But this time we're saying, yes, please touch our exhibits, feel the bones and feel those spikes on the Triceratops head. Put your hand in the dinosaur footprint and see how it compares.
One way kids can be involved is actually digging up real-life dinosaur bones.
The T-Rex behind me, you can actually put your head up into his skull. And then we have a dig pit where you can use paleontology tools and uncover fossils.
Guests can see the new exhibit during their next visit at the Discovery Center, welcoming all ages to explore and interact. In Manhattan, I'm Aaron McGill, Channel 8 News.
Dinosaur Fossils Exposed exhibit ends on May 7th before a brand new exhibit takes over for the summer. The Kansas State student-run radio station just received some pretty prestigious awards. Channel 8's Chase Johnson is joined by Wildcat 919 Chief Operator Ian Punnett. Chase?
Thanks, Brianna. Well, student radio stations are nothing new, which means the competition can be pretty stiff. Here to talk with me today is Chief Operator of Wildcat 919 Ian Punnett. Ian, welcome.
Thank you. I liked how I was mentioned earlier as a Chief Operating Officer, and I really do believe I should have police powers. So thank you. I've been advocating for that for a very long time.
As we all do.
Yeah.
So what makes Wildcat 91, what are they doing that's so unique and special compared to all the other radio stations?
You work with them. The people here. There's only 2 of you who I think do not also work and participate and help us grow at Wildcat 91.9. That includes the booth. It's really, it's always going to be about people. It's going to be about talent. And it's going to be the willingness of people to try it. I don't believe I ever gave Brianna an option to not be a part of the Wildcat 919 staff. I remember the day I asked Blake to join. AJ landed on our doorstep. But, everybody that's in the booth, at one time or another, people were like, well, I don't know if radio's my thing. I'm more of a TV person, or I'd like to give it a try, or whatever. And then when you actually get in that environment, that really creative environment where all things are possible, and you can do digital, you can shoot video, you can, play with the website, you can be part of the team that puts on all the wonderful tech work that we do and the apps and other stuff. That's where the magic comes from. It's just this wonderful sense of collaboration, and I'm just the lucky clown that gets to stand there.
And then what kind of backgrounds do some of these people come from that gives them unique perspectives, both academic and personal? And
a lot of them were last children in their birth orders, in their families, and they grew up kind of performing and having fun and knowing that was good. And other people they know what it means to take charge. And that's the other piece, is that the number of people that we get that come through the door who see a situation and say, all right, let's make a show out of this. And then they do.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's all the time we have for
That's
you
all
left
I deserve.
today.
But why aren't you working for us?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we may not give you a choice either.
All right, Brianna, back to you.
Thanks, Chase. Up next, a look at weather forecast for the weekend. Will warmer temperatures stick around? Plus, the disruptions the last few summers, Manhattan Recreational Services is in a staffing crisis. That's next.
Whatever you do, don't drop it. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yeah, so the first third of the runway.
Deviations left of course approved. Bobcat 1-2, proceed when able.
It was a warm weekend last week. We hope for more of the same. Blake Crawford now joins us with a look at the weather.
Thanks, Brianna. As we approach springtime, that means it's time to hit the pool. The Manhattan Parks and Rec office has begun hiring for their water parks. The city's 3 water parks will open on May 27, and recreation specialist for aquatics, Cindy Baker, expects more than 100,000 visitors over the summer. But Baker hopes she can make a lasting impact on employees she hires as well as the community.
Being able to be a lot of folks' first employer, their first boss, their first job, giving them that experience in a job that is fulfilling for them, and then hopefully they want to stay with us a while is also great, but just having that interaction with the kids in our community is great.
What I might enjoy might not be what you enjoy. So if I offer as many different, unique things for us to do, I'm reaching a greater percentage of the community to provide them opportunity, even if it's just once a week, to be a little bit less stressed, to move around, to be a little bit happier, to be a little bit healthier, and hopefully you meet new people.
For more information, visit mhkprd.com/jobs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the National Service Radar. As you can see, we've got a cold front coming from the southwest and then going up north. Down in the south is a warm front. You see some pretty hot temperatures down here in Texas and the Panhandle states. Stark differences from temperatures across the country. Let's go to the national temperatures. Up in the Dakotas, we'll see temperatures up in about the teens. The temperatures that you haven't expected in previous weeks, but should still be pretty cold up there in the Dakotas. As we go ahead and move west, you see that out in Portland up through Washington in there. It'll be in the 40s and 50s up through California in the 50s as well. Let's go ahead and move over east into Chicago. It's going to be about a bit above freezing. And New York should be about in the 50s. We'll see from Chicago to New York, it continues to get a little bit warmer up into about 53. And then as we mentioned that before, down in Texas, the heat front is pretty cold, up in the 90s. You could see stark differences across the country. Let's go ahead and look at the 24-hour forecast. So this evening, we're expecting some rain, 60% chance of precipitation. Could be a little bit of snow as well, but it's most likely to just be about a ½ inch. Shouldn't really stick to the ground too much and affect the roads, but that will clear up. Temperatures will start to rise going into Friday morning and Friday afternoon. Still a bit cloudy. The sun will come out and go into the 50s. Let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. Check out some of these temperatures we got going on. I mean, we're almost close to 70 on Sunday, in the 50s over the weekend. You're still in the 60s over into Monday, so it seems like this warm weather is here to stay. Just got to get through Thursday and some of that rain. So it's a really great weekend for some good weather. I think springtime weather's here to stay. Spend some time with some family outside. K-State baseball is playing at home this weekend. Maybe you could check them out as well. That's all the time we have for weather. Let's throw it back to Brianna.
Sports is coming up as men's basketball has just one regular season game left before the postseason. Plus, we'll find out where the K-State tennis players can call home. And spoiler alert, it isn't in the United States. That's next.
Together, we represent a diverse and eclectic population.
Together, we believe that diversity, inclusion, and sportsmanship are expectations.
Together, we promote a welcoming and positive environment for all student athletes, coaches, and visitors.
Together, we treat all people with respect and dignity.
No matter their color, creed, gender, ethnicity, or sexual identity.
Together, we are an empowered family who empowers family.
Family, diverse and together.
Stronger together.
So within industrial engineering, you can actually start your master's degree a year early and start taking those classes your senior year. And then after you go through those upper level courses, you only really have a year left and you would come out with your bachelor's and master's degree, which is something I have been considering just because, you know, it's one extra year and I do love K-State. So it's like, you know, win-win. But that's a perk with being an industrial engineer. You're able to get your master's degree in just one extra year.
K-State will run the option. Here's Skylar Thompson. He walks it in. Walks it in front of Antonio Gordon. Here's the shot of the step. And it is Kansas State, courtesy of Brent Carlson. Side of the box, crossing, wide open, the shot. Thompson right away. That ball is gone. She gets the ball back, goes up strong, scores, and one.
K-State, I think, has made me comfortable taking a leadership position. As a computer scientist, the leadership experience and how well you communicate with others is often overlooked by most people. I'm a section leader in the K-State marching band, so it definitely made pursuing, you know, those leadership opportunities more easily. If you demonstrate proficiency in those skills, then that really sets you apart, and I think that really has to go into why I ultimately got the internship.
Now for sports, and men's basketball is now looking ahead to the Big 12 tournament, while the tennis team is bringing an international flair. AJ Shaw has more.
Thanks, Brianna. Men's basketball took down the Sooners of Oklahoma on Wednesday, 85-69 to wrap up the home schedule. The Wildcats honored 6 seniors prior to the game, including stars Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel. Now on to the game. The Cats were able to shake off a 1-for-10 start from the field by taking a 9-point lead into the locker room. David Gasson threw down this nasty dunk on the fast break to cap off a 9-0 run at the end of the first half. In the second half, the Wildcats exploded offensively, shooting over 50% from the field. Junior Naquan Tomlin stole the Thunder offensively, scoring a game-high 19 points on 88% shooting from the field.
Right, and when he plays more, we are better. And then when he runs the floor, it opens everything up because usually the guy who's guarding him is a big fella who has to worry about chasing him down the court, and then he gets these open looks, right? And when he gets open looks, I think he's going to make it.
Now let's take a look at the Big 12 standings for men's basketball. And as you can see, Kansas currently holds the top spot and has won at least a share of the conference title. Then we have a 3-way tie for second with Kansas State currently holding that second spot. A win for K-State on Saturday in Morgantown against West Virginia, and they will take control of second place in the conference for this season. TCU currently sits in 5th at 9-8 in the conference. It's a new season for the K-State tennis team as they return home from a lengthy 10-game road trip. For fifth-year head coach Jordan Smith, he has a very young roster this season that includes many diverse nationalities. Two returning players are sophomore Florentine Deckers, who is from the Netherlands, and sixth-year senior Rosanna Maffei, who is from Italy. Both talked about the differences between their countries and America.
One thing that I was pretty impressive for me is that sport is really big here. Like in Europe, yeah, okay, they like sport, but I feel like study is also really important. But here, sport is #1 priority, and that's really attractive to me.
Also, like, I feel like here there is more of work mentality. So Bali is kind of different, the life.
Returning from a 10-game road trip in which they faced many tough opponents, the team has a very young roster this season with 4 new freshman players. However, Decker says that this is a positive, as she believes having a younger roster is actually quite beneficial.
We have a whole different team, a new team with young girls, so I think it's actually nice to have like a kind of new fresh start. I think that's the biggest difference, but at the end we're all girls from a good level. That's the same. We all work hard and we have good energy, so yeah, I'm really happy with this year.
That's a great thing about, being on the road is that you get to spend a lot more time together. That, sometimes when you're at home, it's easy to kind of go to your own apartments or go do whatever you normally do. And so with the road, you know that, hey, I'm going to be around, what we say, your sisters. And so you can really get to learn a lot about, your teammates, their likes, their dislikes, and, what kind of motivates them and how they can help motivate you. So, we can say, hey, it sucked to be traveling for 6 weeks, or we can say, hey, I created the best atmosphere and experience getting to know my teammates better than I could have before.
The women's tennis team won their first home match of the season over Kansas City yesterday. They're back home tomorrow against Wichita State, starting at 2 o'clock at Mike Goss Stadium. That's all for sports. Back to you, Brianna.
We have one more timeout, but when we come back, we'll get final check on the weather. Plus, we'll let you know how to help out our furry friends in the area. That's up next.
I always knew I enjoyed working with kids, and that was something I was passionate about, and I originally planned to become a teacher. I realized I was more passionate about the kids and their upbringing and their development, and I found that K-State actually offered a program that worked perfectly with my interests, and so I decided that school counseling was kind of the right path for me, just so that I could focus more on that psychology aspect and work with the kids on a more intimate level.
This is a Kansas State program that's here to stay. Under Chris Kleiman, there's a culture built at Kansas State where we're going to see this team in the top 20 for a while. No question.
Number 22 in white has taken this defense to the next level.
And it is a touchdown for Ben Sinnott. K-State's defense rises up on the goal line.
A local shelter needs your help. The T. Retzelritz Animal Shelter is currently accepting donations for food, toys, and cleaning supplies, among other things. However, there are some things the shelter would like you to avoid, such as pillows and large comforters. The animals receive arrangements twice a day, and these supplies are the most in need.
Things like small paper bags, paper towel tubes, paper plates, things like that are going to be what we use for our enrichment items. Peanut butter, beef broth, chicken broth, plain yogurt, pumpkin. Both our cats and dogs get these enrichment items, so we use them really, really fast. Things also like treats that we can incorporate into those enrichment items are something that we are always looking for.
Let's take one more check on our weekend weather with Blake.
Thanks, Brianna. Going to be in the 60s. Warm weather's here to stay all weekend. Back to you, Brianna.
That's all for this edition of Channel 8 News. Join us our next program after spring break. From all of us here at Channel 8 News, have a great day.